Tonight's forecast is sponsored by Ashbrook Audiology, where relationships matter.
Happy Wednesday to you, everybody. I hope you're doing well. And of course, it's been a sweltering day across many of our areas, and not record heat, but it's letting you know that meteorological summer has officially took in effect today, basically meaning that, astronomical summer begins on June 21st. So as meteorological standpoint, we look over a 3-month or so period from when the start of the seasons begins. So typically we'll look at June 1st to right on August 30th, 31st, and just a collective data of what we're going to be in for the next several months. So right now is expected to be above average. Right now, some computer models have been flipping back and forth saying, hey, we're not going to really have a hot summer, but some could say otherwise. So speaking of being hot, we're going to begin talking about the tropics, because this has been a hot topic for the last couple of days. This red area right here, this potentially could be Alex, our next first beginning storm of the hurricane season right now. Right now, we're not expecting it to become a major hurricane, but it's right around the Yucatan Peninsula outside of Florida here. This somewhere, basically meaning in this shaded area of red, has a potential of forming somewhere. So that's just the area where of a concern where we're looking at, but anywhere in this cone of uncertainties where it could form. And there's enough possible another disturbance. Right now, we're not too confident of anything developing out of that name storm either. So right now, the Yucatan Peninsula along there from west coast of Florida down towards Mexico, Alex could form sometime today or tomorrow if it doesn't get a name storm. If not, it's currently right now being invested at 91L. So we will keep a close eye on that as we get closer to the days to come as it does begin to develop. Here we go now. Let's talk about our temperatures tonight. We're not expecting a cool off by no means. Here's our hourly outlook as your future forecast shows our temperature staying pretty warm, not as hot as it was yesterday about this time, but you're like saying, what's the difference? It feels the same to me. Well, you're not wrong. So it's going to remain pretty warm and humid again as you make your way out and about this evening. Again, the chance of rain is limited tonight, so not any rain expected, but more so just a mix of clear skies over this evening. Temperature staying in the mid-70s, will drop down area-wide in the mid-60s. So our friends in Rocky Mount in the city of Martinsville, not cooling off very much, but still warm as you make your way out and about. Our friends to the west of 58 and 57 going towards Patrick County, up towards Floyd, outside of the Meadows of Dan area, staying in the low to mid-60s out there with those clear to partly cloudy skies. Mild and muggy will be the theme. Area-wide high temperatures for tomorrow as we do begin our Thursday. We're going to be waking up in the mid-60s. We'll develop in the mid-80s, near pushing 90 outside of the city of Martinsville, Ridgeway, and Rocky Mount. Stray shower is possible throughout the day, but it's not going to be any widespread green on a radar. You're looking on a Doppler radar. You see a lot of times that widespread of green everywhere. We're not expecting that, just some scattered pop and go storms. Later in the day, any storm that does develop, the main concern would be gusty winds and hail with any of them as well. So other than that, we're not expecting any major, catastrophical widespread rain event, but just again, some scattered storms will be out there for us. Again, the city of Martinsville hot, and again, those scattered storms in the afternoon, high of 91. There'll be a west-southwest breeze here, so that will be something to be looking forward to. So let's go and talk about our temperature forecast over the next couple of weeks, because while we're in the midst of summer, like I said, our friends to the Midwest here are not going to be warming up much, but it's going to feel pretty cool out here. We're right on the average to just above average for most of us. So again, our friends down to Florida, they're always typically warmer than we are again here in the Gulf of Mexico area. And that's where those warmer water temperatures are surfaced as we're beginning to see the development of tropical systems and formations occur over the next several months. Our peak hurricane season is not until mid-August to early October. So typically that's when our hurricanes start getting ramped up. Right now, again, this is not unheard of to get tropical storms early in the first of the season. There's actually been a study that's been put out, possibly even moving the hurricane season further back, starting it as mid-May. As you remember, over now the 4 or 5 years at this point, we've had some type of tropical development here in the Gulf of Mexico, or even sometimes outside of our region, they are outside of the Atlantic Ocean, North Atlantic Ocean. But a lot of times when they do develop early in the season, our water temperatures are not that warm enough because, one, we don't have that system out where it's already warmer than it is, let's say, mid-June or July, compared to this time frame we would see around the early stages of, say, May or so, something like that. Our water temperatures, again, are not cool or not as actively warmer as they are in the summer months, because of, obviously, we have less daylight, and our, of course, our equator is not equivalent with the amount of daylight and ocean waters as well. So a lot that goes into that factor of letting you know where tropical storms develop, when they form, how long they form, and things that nature, just depending on how strengthening and how much warmer these water temperatures are. They can be pretty intensifying. If they're around a lot more warmer weather, warmer water temperatures, they will most likely develop and stick around for a while. So as most of you do know that, for instance, I think one of the storms that come to mind is obviously Hurricane Michael way back in 2018. That was a long lasting storm. We had Dorian a few years ago, last year or year before last. Remember, that was a long lasting storm itself too. So letting you know that these storms and Irma, or Ima, I got to go back and check. I'm getting my I name storms mixed up because we've rotated so many names out. Irma, I think it's what it was back in 2020, I believe, or so, or last year. I got to get my hurricane data rights and hurricane names right first. But just to name those storms, you remember they were pretty long lasting lived. And a lot of times when they do make landfall, a lot of times they fall apart because the land kind of deteriorates the storm. But however, though, if there's more tropical activity that's outside, where, let's say, for instance, a storm makes landfall, this is, by the way, our precipitation outlook are expected to be kind of just at or just above average for the next couple of weeks. So if you're curious what this green blob is, this is not rain. This is just an outlook of precipitation. You kind of see the color correlating codes here, right here. And again, our friends out towards the west are expecting a drier, typical summer feel for them. But let's say a tropical storm was to develop outside here of, this is about Cuba and Bermuda, or Bermuda's right here. Cuba is right around this key area down south of Florida. Let's say a storm develops here and kind of makes this track up, and let's say it makes landfall between North Carolina here and Virginia, and then it goes back out to sea. And a lot of times, if there's warmer water, that storm can re-intensify again, and it continues to be the same storm no matter how strong or how weak it does get. So the name still remains the same, depending on how much impact is made if it makes landfall in the United States. And if it's so significantly dangerously of a storm that does make impact, a lot of times, you probably know, those names do get retired. And a big popular one is Katrina back in 2005 that made landfall outside of New Orleans here in Louisiana. So that's just an example of kind of what happens with these storms. And sometimes we've even had in the past where the storms interact with a cold front and it gets pushed back out to sea. And then typically by that time frame, once the cold front pushes the storm out, it just deteriorates and really not much activity occurs in with it. So that is your history of tropical development and tropical storms, as we're now at the beginning of it, as we finally have officially begun hurricane season. That'll run through November 30th. So we have a long ways of tropical season to get through. Again, our prime time is typically mid-August to early October. Yes, we can get tropical storms even during the winter months. I think in 2012 or 2011, we had a hurricane or a tropical storm that formed early in January, right after the first of the year. This has been way now, almost 11, 12 years ago at this point now. Formed outside of the open Atlantic, just kind of went straight up, and those cooler water temperatures deteriorated that tropical storm. So we get in any time of the year. A lot of times it's rare that we do get them in the winter months, but it has happened in the past. All right, my producer's telling me I need to wrap things up here because we have a lot more BTW21 news coming up right after a quick break. We appreciate your company. One more recap again. Scattered storms possible tomorrow. Main concern of any storm that does develop is gusty winds and some hail. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Your BTW21 weather forecast is sponsored by Zentmeyer Chiropractic.